Let's discuss SQL now. SQL is a database software which manages to create, delete, modify, update the databases in our disk. A disk may consist of many sectors and a database resides on these sectors. Now let's see how to create a database. You should write create database Mtech. Mtech is a database name here, so just write create database Mtech. Okay. Now let me execute it. So for execution you need to do control plus enter in MySQL. Okay, control enter and you will get a message here, create database Mtech. Okay, and we have to use the database, so write use the database and execute it and use Mtech. We have affected 0 rows. Okay, now let's say we want to drop that database, any database that you want to drop, you may write drop database Mtech. Okay, now in our database, let's say we want to create a table. Okay, so creating table is very easy. Just write create table, table name, and in a bracket, in this bracket we have to include all the attributes of the table, which is vehicles. Okay, for this table vehicles we need to have attributes like id1, power, engine, gears. Just write it, and for each corresponding attribute write their data type. Okay, integer, varchar, varchar, varchar. Okay, and this 10 represent the length of the integer, 30 is the length of the varchar, 30 is the length of the varchar, like this. Also you may include a primary key and write just in front of this, and if you want that primary key should not be null, you write not null. Okay, likewise you may create another table like this without declaring this id1 as not the primary key. And let's say we want to include some values, insert some values into the table vehicles and cars, and this was the cars and the above was the vehicles. You may include some tuples in both the tables, and I have already inserted it, so just I'm executing it. Okay, so we have executed this query and we have affected 4 rows here. Okay, and also we want to insert some values into the cars, and here it is. Let me tell you first, this create table, this create keyword is actually used in DDL. These are DDL commands. This is a DDL command, right? DDL means data definition. Okay, and this changes the structure of the table in the database. Another type of query is DML, which is the data manipulation. Okay, now let's see how to alter the table. Alter table is a DDL command, so it changes the structure of the table. Let's say we want to drop the primary key of the table vehicles, so you might write like this, alter table vehicles. See, when you are writing DDL command, just include the word table. Okay, and as the alter is a DDL command, you have to include this word table. Okay, so write alter table vehicles means the table name in which you want to alter. And let's say you want to drop the primary key, just write drop and then primary key, it will work. Okay, so let me execute this query now, and we have dropped the primary key. Now let's say we want to update some values in a table. So update is a DML command, and DML command does not need the word table, so you might skip this word table. Okay, and just write directly the table name in which you want to update. You have to write a word which is set which attribute, in which under which attribute you want to change. Just write set id1 is equals to 29, where id1 equals to 23. See, this condition is very essential in order to understand in which row or tuple you want to execute this updation. And if you skip this like this, it will update or set every id1, means all the rows under the attribute column would become 29. So which is not essential for all the purpose. Just remember to give a condition like this. Okay, let's say we want to add a primary key to any table, and or at the time of initialization we forgot to add the primary key, but later on we can explicitly add the primary key. We can add it by this syntax. See, we want to change the structure of the table, so that's why we have used the alter, and alter is a DDL command. That's why we have used this word table. This word table is very essential for DDL commands, and in which table you want to insert vehicles, and you might add the primary key. And see, you have to include this parenthesis accordingly, because database wants to know in which attribute do you want to make the primary key. So primary key bracket and attribute name and then bracket close. This is parenthesis, right? And suppose you want to delete a table from the database, you have to use like this: drop table name. So mainly drop is a DDL command, and DDL command use the word table and write the table name. It will completely remove the cars from the database. Okay, purposefully I'm not doing this because we want to have look at the tables. Okay, see, this was the vehicles table and this is the cars table. Okay, and suppose you want to add two attributes as a primary key, so you might include like this. Okay, you can have a comma in between and purposefully add it. Okay, so in this table id1 and model both combinedly forming a primary key. Okay, now let's see, if you want to include a new attribute to a table, you should write like this. Say you want to add a new attribute which is as a column, and column name is wheel. Okay, and you should write the data type as well. And so you have to write alter, because we want to change the structure of the table. Alter, as it is a DL command, you have to write the word table, alter table name, in which table you want to change. Add column means add attribute name, which type of the attribute, and its length, and just add it. I've executed this query, and now let's check the structure of the table. Vehicles. See, we have added the wheel, but we have not added any value up till now, so it should show you null. Okay, here we have used to show the table select star from vehicles. See, here most important thing is select is a DML command, and you should not write table word for DML command, so we have not used the word table. Here star means every attribute from the table vehicles, as simple as that. Okay, let's see the difference between this query and this query, these two queries. So if I execute this query, which is star, it will show me all the tables, all the attributes of the table, which is vehicles, from the vehicles. But if I write like this, I want to print id1 and power only from the table vehicles. Let me execute this. You will see this only the attributes from id1 and power from the table vehicles. let's say you want to rename a table from vehicles to vehicle. You might use this query now. See, alter is changing the structure of the table, and for changing structure we have to use dl command, and ddl command uses word table. So alter table name and rename to vehicles. See, it is renaming the table word vehicles to vehicle. You might execute this query and it will show you like this. Okay, so now the database has renamed the table vehicles into vehicle, and you cannot address the same table name vehicles to execute some query. Okay, now I am rechanging the vehicle to vehicles. Okay, so it has been done. So this was all about the basic queries in SQL. Next time I will show you natural join, aggregate functions, and how to use them in complex queries. And if you are new in this channel, you may subscribe to our channel. We make videos like this and will get notifications and latest updates.